Hey ladies, hello. Thank you for being here today. All right, today is a good one. We are going to talk about how to reduce belly fat in 40 and over in midlife and beyond, because that is one of the biggest complaints of women is the weight gain, that middle belly, like what they call the tire or the menopausal belly weight gain. And women complain of not changing diet, not changing exercise, and still just putting on weight. So I'm going to give you 5 tips to help you reduce that belly weight, especially when it comes to visceral fat, which is what we really need to be concerned with over the age of 40. So let's get into it. Okay, ladies, my name is Cynthia Williams. I am an integrative nutrition practitioner. I have been in this space for well over 20 years, and my priority with training, or how I train, has shifted as I have aged. I have become more educated. I've learned more. I've seen what works, what doesn't work. And as I am heading into perimenopause myself, I have just crammed knowledge or information, books, resources, certifications, all of that down my throat to be prepared for it, because this is such a change in a woman's life. And if you go into it blind or not prepared or not making changes to current things that you're doing, it's going to be a really, really hard time to go through. And I have no desire to do that. So through my education, I'm helping women understand that you can control your symptoms. You can control how you travel through midlife and beyond. It can be a very thriving time for a woman versus just trying to survive. So let's get into these 5 tips that I have that you can consistently start to incorporate. And remember, consistency over perfection. Work on incorporating one tip consistently and then on to the next. Don't try to, overwhelm yourself and try and get all of these 5 things in tomorrow. That's not going to happen. Consistency over perfection is what's going to pay off long-term and help you with your reduction of disease, cardiovascular, metabolic disease, osteoporosis, cancers that tend to be high risk for women in midlife and beyond. Tip number 1 is eating foods high in polyphenols. Polyphenols are great for help regulating gut microbiome, reducing inflammation, and they help to stimulate lipolysis, which is taking stored fat and converting it into energy, which is what we want. At the end of the day, it is always a calorie balance, calories in versus calories out. And as I've discussed in some of my other videos, as we're going through midlife, we have several factors that affect our ability to burn calories, basically, and it slows that down for us. So anything that we can do to help contribute to continuing to have a nice calorie output so that we can remain lean or not put on more weight is a good idea. So foods like berries, cherries, vegetables, olive oils are a good source. The thing with olive oils is you want to be very specific in the olive oil that you buy. You always want to buy first or cold pressed olive oil. You want it to be in a dark glass bottle. You want it to be organic. If you have an olive oil shop close to you, I will go in there and ask them which one is your highest polyphenol count currently, and that's the bottle that I would purchase. But incorporating more foods with polyphenols is a great way to help with the energy expenditure balance, keeping the gut healthy and reducing inflammation, all of which are things that can put a weight on a woman. Number 2 is reducing alcohol consumption. And I know many women in midlife go to alcohol to help them. They reduce stress, or they feel like it's making them sleep better, or it just helps them to unwind, because we tend to be more anxious and more overwhelmed feeling and more sense of irritability as we are going through these hormonal shifts. And then we'll look to alcohol to help relieve some of that. And actually, alcohol is not relieving that. I think we all know that by now, that studies have shown it affects the sleep, it really affects your mood, and it's a class 1 carcinogen. It is on the same caliber as smoking cigarettes or rolling around in asbestos. It causes cancer. The thing, though, when we're talking specifically to visceral fat, even if you are not in a calorie surplus or you are not overweight, drinking alcohol in and of itself stimulates visceral fat gains. Visceral fat is the fat in and around the organs. This is for women why in midlife and beyond, and especially post-menopause, we become so high risk for cardiovascular and metabolic disease and cancer when we're in midlife and beyond or post-menopause, due to the increase in visceral fat from decline of hormones, lifestyle factors, etc. Heart disease is still the #1 killer of women. Most women are in postmenopause, and it is highly correlated to some of these hormonal imbalances or the lack of estrogen that women have as they're going in midlife and beyond. So reducing alcohol intake is crucial. So you can look to, if you need to relax, you can look to maybe some CBD or some THC gummies. Those have actually shown to reduce menopause symptoms, hot flashes, visceral symptoms, irritability, moodiness. It helps with sleep. So looking to alternative therapies besides alcohol to help you find that relaxation or that mood, like reduction of sorts, helping you not be so moody, not be so irritable, is a great idea going through midlife and beyond. Number 3 is cardio, but the type of cardio and the amount of cardio that we are doing. You have to have some cardio in there for cardiovascular and respiratory health. But when we hit 40, 45 and midlife and beyond, the cardio needs to go from long endurance to short and sharp bursts of cardio. That has been shown in research to reduce visceral fat and improve metabolic health in women. This one study specifically done on women in reducing visceral fat. So this is your true high intensity exercise. This is not your boot camps, your burn boot camps, your Orange Theories. That is not true high intensity interval training. Not saying you can't do those maybe once a week, but it should not be a regular or a staple in your exercise routine at this point in your life. For cardio, we need to do sprints, whether you run sprints, you bike sprints, you row sprints, anything like that, that you can get your heart rate to that 85% or higher in exertion level for very short periods, no more than 30 seconds. You take a big full recovery, you let the heart rate come all the way down, and then you go again. So they're quick, they're sharp, they're hard. And this presents the same stress on the body that will help to reduce visceral fat as when we were younger and we had estrogen flowing freely, and it helped us to manage those visceral fat gains or losses, whichever way it was. So sprints, short, sharp, and hard. I'll put in the description below a sample of how to run sprints. If you're getting started with running sprints, they're hard, they're uncomfortable, but they will make a huge impact in your health as you are aging. Number 4, resistance training. Resistance training is, by building muscle tissue, is huge for having basically a glucose disposal, a way to dump glucose without eliciting an insulin response. The more insulin that we have to elicit in response to the foods that we're eating, the alcohol that we're drinking, the more likely we are going to start gaining visceral fat. So the more resistance training that you can do, the more muscle mass that you can build. And I'm not saying, again, you're not going to bulk up, ladies. You're not going to be, huge bodybuilders unless that's your goal. But you're not going to get there, especially if you're 45 and older. It is so hard at this point in your life to build lean muscle tissue that you would have to be working out, 7 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a day, eating a mass amount of protein and calories all around in order to get big and to get bulky. If you start strength training and you find that you're getting big and bulky, I would look to your nutrition and what you're eating and how much you're eating. It is not the strength training at this point. We are working really hard to build lean muscle tissue, to have a great spot for glucose to go so that we don't have to elicit insulin, because in perimenopause and beyond, your insulin sensitivity is naturally declining due to an elevation of cortisol levels. This in and of itself stimulates visceral fat gains. So we need to find ways to keep our insulin sensitivity as sharp and as low as we can, meaning we don't have to use insulin. We try to use insulin as least as possible. And the ultimate, the best, the top way to do that is strength training and building muscle tissue. Last but not least is managing triglyceride levels. And how we do this, if we eat an abundance of fat and carbohydrates in the same meal, this keeps our body from burning or breaking down the fat in that meal, which converts to triglycerides, which converts to high visceral fat in the body. So we want to eat nice, balanced meals. This is not saying no fats or no carbs. This is saying eating the right amount of fats with the right amount of carbohydrates. You absolutely should have all three: protein, carbohydrates, and fats. I've done tons of videos on why you should not be low carb in midlife and beyond, but it's the kind of carbohydrates that we're eating. Because we should be consuming a very high fiber diet over the age of 40, you cannot be low carb and be high fiber. You have to consume generous amounts of food, berries, legumes, beans, sprouted grains, carbs of that nature to help you hit your fiber numbers, to give you energy, to make you feel good, to keep your digestion regular, to have energy in workouts, to recover from workouts, to not have brain fog, to have, good moods throughout the day. You have to have these carbohydrates coming in with a proper amount of fats coming in as well. So if you're eating higher fat, higher carbohydrate foods, so like pizza, nachos, hamburgers and french fries, if you're eating a lot of those kinds of foods, you're going to elevate your triglyceride levels, thus stimulating visceral fat gains. And this is not to be mistaken, ladies. You can be slim and have a lean figure, but be unhealthy on the inside. You can have high amounts of visceral fat and still present with a lean figure. So don't, just because you're small and lean and eating that way, think that you're getting by or you're escaping through this. Absolutely not. The medical term for it is called TOFI. It's thin on the outside, fat on the inside. And I have had clients in this position, and you'll feel it. Your energy's down, digestion's going to be down. But just don't assume somebody who is overweight or has a large belly are the only ones that have this visceral fat issue. You 100%, diet is everything when you're over the age of 40, as far as contributing to metabolic, cardiovascular health, osteoporosis, all of that kind of stuff. So working to have a nice balanced meal, a good amount of protein, a good source of carbohydrates that's high fiber, and then a good source of fats in your meals to have a nice balanced meal and get all the nutrition that you need. These are my 5 tips for targeting belly fat, aka visceral fat, in women ages 40 and above. If you work on, like I said, incorporating one tip, getting really consistent with that, and then slowly trying to bring on some of these other tips, especially, trying to incorporate the sprinting or the strength training. If you've never done both, I would not recommend trying to bring on sprinting and strength training at the same time. Pick one, get really consistent with it, and then bring on the other to keep you from getting overwhelmed and burned out with this, right? We're trying to make changes now for the second half of your life, the rest of your life. This is becoming your new lifestyle and habits. So we need to make slow, sustainable changes in order for these to stick. Find a routine that works for you with your life, your work schedule, your kids, whatever it is that you have going on. Consistency over perfection, but always working to incorporate these types of lifestyle factors and habits into our life as we are aging so that we can thrive and not just survive. I appreciate you being here. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.